In my father's youth there was a ghost down in Frändefors parish. He laughed and flapped around. He stayed in a certain part of the forest, and people were always afraid to cross that forest. It so happened once that a small boy went over that forest. He had been paid by older persons if he dared to walk that road. He took his 6 steel pennies that he got in his fist and left. Then he got to a hill. He went up on it and started jumping, dancing, flapping and laughing as much as he could. When he did that, the ghost came and asked, what was he so happy about? Well, look here, you'll see what I have, replied the boy, showing his 6 pennies. Huh, that was not much to be happy about, said the ghost, and continued, if you could see what I have. Then the boy saw a large copper cauldron full of money. Then he threw his 6 steel pennies into the cauldron and said, when you have so much money you can take these too. Then the ghost began to moan and scream and could not hide the kettle again. The boy then took both the kettle and the money. There once was one who had killed his wife and buried her and put an armful of firewood over. But there was an inn nearby, and there was a room that was haunted every night, so that no one dared to sleep there. One evening a travelling lady came and wanted a room. Then the landlord said that he only had one vacancy, but no one could live there because it was haunted. But the lady said she was not afraid, and then she could have the room. At night the ghost came. Then the lady said, if you are an evil spirit, then go away from here. But if you are good, then come forward. Then the ghost spoke and told that her husband had killed her and buried her, and there was a small green patch of grass over the place, and there was an armful of firewood on it. Then she showed that she had a hole in her head after an axe. Then the lady took her wedding ring off and put it in the hole and said, go in peace. In the morning the lady took the sheriff with her, and they searched right at the place where the murdered woman was buried, and they found the body, which had not decayed. But when the lady took her wedding ring, which was in the hole on the corpse's head, the body turned into dust. On Rickvide slopes in När by the seashore there are plenty of stone settings and battle graves. Often appears to the ones that wanders there, who walks from the shore or down from the yards, the most marvelous shapes of raw and ghosts, and large crowds of travellers in strange costumes, hovering over the field, around the shore, and Holmreinen, the narrow headland which now connects Närsholm with the mainland. Once such a strange traveller was seen travelling with a cart, but without a horse before it. But to get fast forward, the ghost sat on the cart and nodded steadily with his head and body. A fearless farmer who came from the shore and saw this sight shouted at the ghost, "Oh, you will have to nod well if you are going to catch up with the rest of the company." For this ghost in the cart was the last of other large ghosts' entourage which hovered over the Rickvide hills. After that, there's a proverb in När: if someone is lazy, you have to nod a lot if you're gonna get there. A woman was dead and she was buried in the church. But she haunted the place so terribly. Every morning they could see that the coffin lid was disturbed, and when they took it off, they noticed to their horror that the corpse's new silk socks were completely worn out. These were then exchanged for new ones. But the next morning they were worn out again. Then people were put out to watch over the corpse. But just as the clock struck 12, they fell asleep, and the next morning the coffin lid was again disturbed and the corpse's socks worn out. Now a son of the dead woman decided to keep himself awake in the church. He managed to stay awake, and when the clock struck 12 at night, a horrible man came into the church, went to the coffin and took off the lid. Then the dead woman rose from the coffin and began a horrifying dance with him. When the son saw this, he cried out, "Mother, Jesus Christ will raise us up the last day, he and no one else." Then the horrible night walker released the dead. She lay down tired in the coffin, where she then had her peace. We met the Grey Lady. We were 10 children. 5 of them met the Grey Lady, sometimes in the sunshine, sometimes at dusk, sometimes in winter, sometimes in the summer. Never with fear she was seen, never with fear, but often she foreshadowed an event, sometimes sad, sometimes happy. Father never tolerated that we talked about her, called it superstition and silenced us. But when a young sister died and had been buried for a while, Father came down from the attic during twilight and asked, "In what clothes did you dress Carolina in for the coffin?" "Well," replied my sister, "in white." "Was it not in grey?" said Father. "Oh, Father have seen the Grey Lady." Whereupon we got to talk about her, as much as we wanted. Her last time across the farm was on a clear summer day in 1905. She was seen by 2 female relatives, who both turned to each other saying, "What is going to happen? There was the Grey Lady." What happened was that one of the women's little daughters, an hour later, was half burned to death during a children's play, and since then we have never seen the Grey Lady.